McEwen.
Hey, Matt. I have two questions, but the first one is just how did you assess the overall operation on Saturday with Luke as the new starter?
Thought he did a good job. At the end of the day, we won the football game. That's the most important thing. He helped us win the game. He as a first starting quarterback, your first game, you're always going to get better. And there's things that he can do better, like there's things we can coach better. But for a first game, coming out there and being calm and making some big time plays at crucial times, I thought he did a great job.
How do you, talking to Frost yesterday, he said he had a conversation just with you and other coaches about we have to remind ourselves that this is a really young offense and that you have to be patient with it. I think that times on Saturday, you might have had 5 or 6 freshmen on the field at once. How do you you certainly don't change your standards, but how do you change maybe your patience and your coaching techniques when you're dealing with guys who really are doing this for the first time?
Yeah, we hit two things. Well, number one, I think at one time we had 8 guys on the field. We forget about that, but which is exciting because we know they have great futures ahead of them. You definitely don't change your standards because at the end of the day, we're going out there to win. We're going to play the best players, whether they're freshmen or whether they're seniors. And so they got to know what the standards are, and we got to demand their best. But at the same time, we got to build their confidence. That's a big thing with freshmen is put them in situations where they can succeed. And I don't know if patience is the word, but I'd say more positivity, making them understand, hey, these are the things, and you can do it, and being positive about it. I think you can still be demanding but positive, and that's what we always try to do as coaches.
Thank you.
Jake Bartecki, KRNU.
Hey, Coach, how much do you know about Illinois, and what do you kind of like that you see out of their defense? And is there anywhere you guys think you have an advantage on offense against them?
Well, they're a good defensive football team. Every year we play them, it seems like it goes down to the wire. They're a lot like us. They're riding some momentum. They had a big win last week, as did we. They're athletic on defense. They're tough. I think they take pride in not giving up big plays. They've done a pretty good job of that. So we're going to have to earn everything we get, and we're excited about the challenge. But it's a good defensive football team that's very well coached.
Mitch Sherman, The Athletic.
Hey, Matt. Scott talked, I think, after the game about some of the personnel groupings and how you have a lot of those. In particular, I assume he's talking about the receivers. How are you seeing those young guys, Fleming, Brown, Betts, coming along and help and allowing you to do more things, incorporate them in more ways into the offense?
Yeah, we're trying to play a lot of different people, which helps us. It helps keep guys fresh. It also, provides some friendly competition. The biggest thing is they've got to prove, not just to the coaches, but to themselves, and have confidence that they can handle the game plan in practice. And there's some things that certain guys do better than others. And as coaches, you always try to get whoever does this the best, get them in that situation. And so that's a constant thing that we work on as coaches, that we talk about every day. We do like the fact that we're playing a lot of guys because it keeps guys fresh. We also cross-train. So, for example, we can be in 2 tight ends, and the second tight end can play the receiver spot. We can be in 2 running backs, the second running back can play the receiver spot. And so I think the flexibility our offense gives us to put different guys in different spots and put them in positions where they can excel it helps us. And then the fact that we've got some young guys that are getting better each day and learning the offense, that's let us play more guys.
Parker Gabriel, Journal Star.
Hey, Matt, what do you learn about Luke when he plays an entire game rather than playing in a package here or a series there? And how did you think he handled just the sort of ups and downs of being in there for every snap of a game?
Yeah. Well, first, I thought he handled it unbelievably well. We knew that he was a competitor. We knew he was he's a great athlete. He's been making plays all fall camp long with his feet and with his arm. But sometimes you really don't know until there's live bullets how a guy's going to respond. And I was very impressed with his poise. He stood in there. He improvised a little bit when we needed him to. He kept some long some third down, some second long situations alive just by making a play himself. Never panicked. Showed a ton of poise, and not just for a first starter, but we forget he's basically a freshman, and so yeah, could not be more happy with what he did in the game. Now he's been doing that the whole time in fall camp, and that's why, we chose to start him. But at the same time, it's a different thing to go out on Saturday and do the same thing, and that's against a good defensive football team. I think people sometimes forget that. Those guys are going to win some games this year. That's a good defensive football team, and it looked like he'd been in there for a long time playing football. So I was very pleased, as we all were.
And just one quick follow-up. Did you have I know there's been a lot of talk about, throwing the ball down the field and all that. When you went back and saw it, did you have an opportunity for a big play on where he got hit on the interception, looking up the sideline?
Yeah, we thought, he got hit right when he was throwing. We thought it was a wheel route. We thought we had the wheel, and I think it would have been a completion. You never know. The corner was kind of coming off. Yeah, we did think we had one. And we took some shots downfield, especially early on. The biggest thing about this game, when we got up early, that kind of changed our mindset too. We didn't want to go 3 and out. We still wanted to take our shots, but we also wanted to control the clock a little bit. And our defense did a fantastic job and take away some of their possessions, one by controlling the clock and being able to run the ball, and just being smart play calling wise. I think the worst thing you can do sometimes when you're up by 25 points is just, you still want to do your offense and you still want to pick and choose your shots, but you don't want to put your defense out there without taking any time off the clock. So clock management does come into play in those situations. But when we do call shots, we had, and these guys were a good defensive football team too. I mean, they make it hard to sit back there. That's one thing we noticed as coaches when we study them is going into the game, quarterbacks just don't sit back there and wait for routes to develop. You got to have shots where it's either there or there's a layoff. And that's always part of our thought process anyway as coaches. And these guys do a really good job of putting pressure on the quarterback too.
Couple more for Coach Lubick. Andy Kendi, KETV.
Hey, Coach. You guys have been outscored by pretty big margin in the second half. Is it as much what the defense adjusts to, or is it just a lack of execution on your part? And how can you jumpstart you guys coming out of the break?
I think anytime you don't score points, you could always point to you can execute better. I think that question's interesting. Yeah, I think part of it you got to look at what the situation was. We come out of halftime and you're up by 30 points. You play a little bit differently as if you're down by 30 points, as far as just your mindset, scoring points, the whole deal. So I think each game is different. I know, Ohio State, we came out in the first drive of the game and scored. These guys would come out in the first drive of the game and scored. Northwestern, we came out in the first drive, drove it all the way down, had a penalty, but we're in field goal touchdown range. So our whether it's the first possession of a game or the first possession of the second half, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, at second half, you do go in, you make adjustments, what has been working, what hasn't, why. You talk about it really fast, but you also stick to your guns. Hey, we game plan this. This is what they're showing. This is what we still need to call, and that's basically it, as far as what the coach's mindset. But yeah, would we like to score the ball every time we have the ball in the second half? There's no question.
Finish up with Coach Lubick, Sean Callahan, Husker Online.
Hey, Coach, just curious, when you look at, you've played Ohio State, you played Northwestern, you played Penn State, can you just tell your guys now, like, look, we've seen about as good as we're going to see now in the Big Ten. It's kind of all downhill from here. We may not see defenses as good as we faced already at this point. And what did you learn just over this stretch playing on paper what appears to be 3 pretty good defenses?
Well, I think you're exactly right. We played 3 great defenses, especially, even including the one last week might have been the most athletic defense out of them all. But at the same time, in this league, the big challenge that our guys got to understand that every defense is good. And if you don't come prepared to play, every team in this league can beat you. And every defense in this league can create problems. So you really do got to treat it as a faceless opponent and prepare the same way each week, which is, number one, doing the best we can do and doing our job, which means no penalties, lining up right, not turning the ball over, and executing. And then specifically find that our plan of attack of how we're going to attack each defense. Each defense is a little bit different, but in this league, they're all good defenses. And the one coming up is a darn good defense. So you got to be real careful. Our guys know that we played 3 good defenses. There's no question. But they also know that I don't think there's an easy defense on the schedule. And so and you got to prepare that way too.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll have Coach Chinander next. Coach Chinander's here. First question I see, Joe Nugent, WOWT.
Hey, Eric, I'm curious how you judge a defense's performance. What areas do you think are most important as you go back and look at a game?
Well, number one thing is if we win the game, that's pretty good. But I think you gotta take into account what you're trying to get done, and every game's a little differently. There's certain stats that everybody's judged on. Sometimes you keep the points down, the yards are up. Sometimes the yards are way down and the points are up, and there's got to be a good balance. Obviously we've got to be a little better on third down, but we're taking the ball away right now and scoring points for our team. So there's some good things happening and some not so good things happening, and that we've got to get corrected. But overall, we need to keep the points down and we need to win football games.
Sean Callahan, Husker Online.
Hey, Coach, did you guys give out the black shirts this week? And if you did, can you name the guys that you gave black shirts to?
I did. We did give out some black shirts this week. I thought the guys, they finally practiced the way we wanted them to last week, and we had a pretty good performance. And the black shirts need to set a new standard. To be honest with you, if you want to ask the guys about it, that's fine. I think that we live in a world where the black shirts mean more to me than social media, and Twitter doesn't have to know about everything. And and I think it's a special thing right now. And I think if you want to ask those kids about who got them, that's great. But right now it's an in-house kind of situation where this tradition just means more to me than having to put everything on social media right now.
Andrew Ward, KN.
Hey, Eric, I know that Ben Stilley had the big play to end the game on Saturday, but just what kind of role has he played with the bringing up of those younger defensive linemen?
Ben's done a great job with, he's been here for a long time now, 5 years, and he's kind of seen the ups and downs, and he's been, one of the only D linemen that's been in the room. There's a couple other ones, but one of the only ones that's been in the room for all 3 years since we've been here, and he's starting to really understand the system and what we're trying to get done. And he's done a great job of helping those young kids develop their technique and their knowledge of the system. So I really appreciate what he does with those guys. I mean, he's in there watching film with them all the time, and they're asking him questions. If they can't find Coach Tuioti or Coach Washington or myself, they're asking him, and he's got them up there studying film on the opponent. So he's done a great job with those young guys.
Sam McEwen, Omaha World Herald.
Eric, thanks for doing this. Hey, you guys have used a lot of different personnel in that front seven, but I've noticed, and I think other reporters have noticed it, sometimes you'll have 2 defensive linemen in and maybe 5 linebackers. How'd you guys kind of develop how you're rotating your front 3 / front 4 this year, and how you're determining the personnel? Because it seems to have been effective, and it's also a little bit different than what you've done in the past.
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we've always wanted to get to. A big contributing factor in that is just developing depth on our football team. There's been times in our tenure that we've had to leave a lot of guys out there for a lot of snaps, and I truly believe that the more guys you can play in a football game, the better each one of them plays. There's certain guys obviously that you want out there for more snaps than others, but usually when that starter, whoever your starter is, even if he's a Pro Bowler or whatever, he's not going to play as good on rep 7 as the next guy will be on his play 1. So we want to try to keep those guys fresh. Like I said, developing depth. Another reason is there's guys that have earned the right to play through their practice habits and just what they've done when they've got their chances in the football game. And I really like it right now because it's creating a very, very energetic, competitive spirit in practice. Guys are hungry for reps, and some of the older guys know that the boogeyman's coming to get them
if they don't do their job, because these young guys are really pushing the envelope right now. So it's developing a good sense of competition and practice. But once again, those guys have earned the right to play. And like you said, there's certain packages we want to deploy versus certain personnel groups the offense is putting out there, down and distance specific, and all those types of things. So just the more things we can do with those guys, and the more they understand, the better we're going to be on defense.
Do you call that a 2-4-5 or a 2-5-4? Or what? How should we refer to that setup when it's just two down linemen and all the linebackers?
Now, you guys call it all kinds of stuff. I don't call it anything, but we just call that's our nickel set right now. And basically, just like, if you've watched, the Alabamas and the Georgias over the years, and many other, even Wisconsin, when they get in their nickel personnel grouping, those outside backers truly become the defensive ends, and those defensive ends in the 3-4 truly become the defensive tackles, the nose guard in the 3 technique. It's just in 11 personnel and 10 personnel, you're getting more to 4-down defense, more what you would call 4-2-5 or 4-3 defense, depending on what you call JoJo. Some people call him a nickel, some people call him a linebacker in that set. But that's our version of 4-down spacing. So whatever you guys want to call it, I call it nickel.
Parker Gabriel.
Yeah, Eric, I was going to ask about JoJo. He's played pretty much every snap for you defensively, and I know you talked about him, his ceiling being whatever he wanted it to be before the season. Have you seen him take that step toward playing more within the system? Because clearly the big playability is still there too.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job of playing within the system, and he's taken steps in the right direction. I still think the ceiling's high for him. I still think you haven't necessarily seen the best version of JoJo Domann that you can, but he's playing really good football right now, and he's doing his job. He hasn't been going rogue or anything like that. He's playing within the defense, and he's making the plays when his number's called. And I think when you're a really good football player, that's what you do. You help other people, other teammates make plays when their number's called, and then when your number gets called, you make one. But I still don't think any of us have seen the ceiling on JoJo Domann yet.
Evan Bland, World Herald.
Hey, Eric, just wanted to ask you about Illinois. They haven't announced a quarterback for the weekend, and it seems like whoever they have out there really they have a different kind of offense for that. I'm just curious, how fine is the line as far as when you guys prepare from going too far down the rabbit hole, preparing for one guy as opposed to just kind of working on what you guys do best in your base stuff?
Yeah, and I don't think it's it's not like a whole grade switch in their offense. Obviously there's different tweaks when number one's in the football game, and when Peter's is in the football game, there's different tweaks involved. So we've got to just tweak our scheme a little bit. But, like I've told you guys before, I think, we see a running quarterback quite a bit. Obviously we've seen Adrian and Luke quite a bit, and Logan Smothers. So we've got some experience defending the quarterback run. Our guys know that things are going to change a little bit depending on who's in the football game, but they've also got to get ready for anything. I don't think, it's not like when Isaiah Williams is in there, he's not going to throw the football, and it's not like when Peters is now, he can pull the ball and make you pay now. He can run the football too. So I think you got to be ready for the whole package. Just understand the tweaks that are going in when each guy gets in the football game.
A couple more quick ones for Coach here. Steve Sipple, Journal Star.
Hi, Coach. Nebraska's Lubick was asked about this too. Nebraska has been outscored 59-6 in the second half. Is that a stat that gets the staff's attention? Is it discussed much? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think you're always trying to figure out, what your deficiencies are. How can you make things better? A big focus for us last week was starting fast and not getting off the field early on the first drive of the game and the first drive of the second half, which we've done. And now we just have to finish football games. And I think we did a good job at the end of the game. It's kind of turned into the focus of, in the middle of the third quarter to kind of the middle of the fourth quarter, and just playing with the same intensity that we play with throughout that first half and throughout the beginning of the third quarter. I don't think it's scheme or anything like that. I think it's just we've got to be dialed in and we've got to play complementary football. And that's, when the offense gets a 3 and out, defense got to get the ball back. When the defense gets a turnover, offense, has to score a touchdown. When there's a good or bad play on special teams, offense or defense have to respond. So complementary football is a huge piece to finishing football games, especially in the second half.
From a layman's point of view, it looked like your safeties played well. Was that a good day for your veteran safeties?
Yeah, I thought I thought everyone in the back end played a really good football game. I thought, across the board, there obviously there's things to fix. There's no doubt about it. But the guys played really hard. They're playing physical right now. They're tackling good. But those safeties in the corners did a great job, especially towards the end of the game. We put them in a lot of man coverage situations, and they answered the bell. So I was very proud of the way that those guys responded.
Yep. Last one for Coach, Brian Christopherson, 24/7.
Hey, Eric, that's kind of a follow-up to what Sipple was just asking. And I was going to ask about Deontay Williams specifically, and not just the play he had, but a guy who, came back from not playing at all last season. Just what it's like as a coach to see a guy like that work his way back and play like he is now.
I'd say it's a really good thing to see him come back, and not just because he helps our team, which he certainly does, but just to see a guy that loves football, lose the ability to play football because of something out of his own control, and then being able to rehab that injury, get his surgery, stay locked in, stay part of the team, be a good teammate, continue to learn football and study film, and then have a chance to come back this year and play well is really exciting for me. Just because I'm so happy for the young guy. I'm happy for me and the rest of the guys too, because he makes us a better football team. But I'm really happy for him that he gets to continue to do something he loves when it was taken away from him out of his own control last year. So it's awesome to be around him every day.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
have Coach Beckton next. All right, Coach Beckton's here. Talk a little tight ends. Let's open it up. Parker Gabriel, Lincoln Journal-Star.
Hey, Sean, how nice was it to get Jack back as quickly as you did? Obviously, he didn't play a lot against Penn State, but just to get him back on the field for a few snaps at least.
Well, he's the core of our tight end room. He's the leader of the room, and obviously he gave us a spark. Had a big block on that long touchdown catch for Xavier Betts. He's worked extremely hard to get back. I knew I was going to play him a little bit limited, throughout that game, and he came in and gave us 4 snaps, really good quality snaps there, and he's early this week he's done well. He started to progress back to take some of his normal reps in practice. Last week we just gave him a few just to try to build him up and get him ready to go, and we're just going to try to accelerate that this week with him and see how it goes throughout the rest of the week.
That look with the fly sweep to Xavier, was that one of the reps that you gave Jack, that specific play in practice, or was it not that specific?
No, we give all the guys pretty much equal reps throughout practice. Certain plays like that, obviously I try to make sure everyone is getting those live reps throughout the week and throughout a day. So those guys are really, really sharp on that particular play versus all the different looks. But it just so happened that he was in on that one along with Travis Vokalak, and they did a great job there.
Brian Christopherson, 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Sean, it feels like Austin Allen's role has really grown this year, and there's a lot of faith in him. What's the biggest difference right now where he's at maybe when you first got here?
Well, he's worked extremely hard on overall development, mentally, physically, with the game of football. He's increased his speed and increased his size and his strength, and it's carried over to him being more confident in what he's doing on the football field. And he's playing at a high level. He's really done some really good things for us this year, and he's going to continue to do that this year. He has emerged as one of the guys that the quarterbacks really look for downfield, and he's made some really nice plays vertically for us, and also in-line blocking. He's done a tremendous job of understanding what's going on there with defensive fronts and being able to maneuver and adjust there with some physicality.
Thanks, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Sipple, Lincoln Journal-Star.
Hi, Coach. I wanted to go back a little bit to that Penn State game. What did you think as you watched Penn State's defense in preparation, and then what you saw on Saturday? What were your impressions of their defense?
Well, I thought their front seven was better than Ohio State athletically. I thought they moved extremely well at the defensive end spots. I thought they gave us a lot of different looks, as far as speed and being able to play a little bit more of a finesse, backdoors. So we had to be really solid in what we're doing as far as executing up front. We shortened our footwork all week trying to prepare for those guys, the way they moved and stunted and how quick those defensive ends were. And then the linebackers, being able to block those guys out of space. We used, some smaller guys and quicker guys to get the speed for us to be able to execute. But they're really talented up front.
How much does it benefit you having seen three really good defenses right off the bat?
Well, it gives us a little bit of confidence that we, obviously we still hadn't put together an entire game, offensively. We're building towards working those kinks out and, some of the things that we're trying to do differently to get those guys to finish games. But, obviously the confidence, being able to face, some of the top defenses in the league early on, and looking at Illinois, I know their stats don't say it, but they're very talented also, So we're just trying to progress every week and trying to get better. We wanted to finish that game off a lot better than we did last week. And our goal this week is to do better, coming out the tunnel like we did this past week, and then second half, sustaining drives throughout the entire game.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Two more for Coach. Mitch Sherman, The Athletic.
Hey, Sean, I know you work with Coach Rutledge on special teams and implementing some of the stuff that he's working on. What do you think about the performance against Penn State and how some of those things factored into the game?
Well, we've progressively gotten better as the season's gone on, particularly punt return, and then our punt. We gave up one long one there because of placement of the punt. So we're working on that, with the punter. He did a good job, early on in the game, and then, one punt was down the middle. So we're trying to work our coverage lanes out to be, a lot better and trying to be more physical at the point of attack and everything that we're doing on punt, kickoff. Kickoff was they played probably the best we've had in years here at Nebraska. And the other phases are increasingly improving daily. Kickoff return last week, we didn't get very many because their kickoff guy was, kicking it out of the end zone. But we worked extremely hard in that phase also. We knew we weren't going to get very many. So as the schedule goes forward, we're just going to continue to work to improve in all facets of our special teams.
All right, last one for Coach Beckton. Back to Parker Gabriel, Journal-Star.
Hey, Sean, a recruiting question for you. I know there's been a lot made of the dead period and its impact on the 2021 class, but how do you think it's going to impact the 2022s? I know you don't know when you're going to be able to get people on campus or anything like that, but is there a chance that it'll slow down the 22 class, which is sort of would be the opposite, the way it's sped up decision making in the 21 class?
Well, I think it's going to be a progression, just like the 21 class. Those kids going to make the adjustment, and we've already made the adjustments, doing more recruiting as far as Zooms, bringing Nebraska football into homes, our everyday things that we do. We're trying to, on Sundays, it's been a really, really big recruiting day for our Zooms, presentations that we've done, and we're trying to spread them all out. Facility tours, campus tours, football, all those different things like they were here on campus. So we're trying to make the adjustment. The kids are making the adjustment. I think what's going to end up happening here after this first signing period, you're going to see some of the 22s starting to select their universities that they want to attend, and it's just going to snowball from there.
And has the dead period been long enough now where do you still feel good about in-person evaluations that you as a staff have had on 22 guys, or is it getting harder to have a board for the 22 class and beyond the longer it's been since you've seen guys in person?
Yeah, it's tricky. That's a tricky situation for all of us. We're just trying to evaluate more instead of highlights. We're evaluating full game films since we can't get out. So the 22 kids, we have our guys that we've offered, and we're actually going back and looking at some of their game film throughout the year to see how they've progressed, and we feel that guys haven't progressed. Obviously we're going to put a star by them, but a lot of the guys that we've looked at, we've seen those guys really improve from the beginning of the season to the end.
All right, thank you, Coach. Short break and we'll have players. I think we'll have one of Coach Beckton's guys, Austin Allen, here in just a minute.
Okay, we're back with Austin Allen. I will start the questions with Sam McEwen.
Thanks for doing this, Austin. I really appreciate it. Hey, you're surrounded by a lot of young guys on that offense. You're a fourth-year guy, so you're a veteran. You kind of know it. What is it when you're playing around players who are really, really young? What do you have to remind yourself of as it relates to being patient and understanding they're going through this for the first time, just like you did once upon a time?
Yeah, that's exactly right. 4 years ago, I was in that same spot with this new staff. I know exactly how confusing this offense can get sometimes when we're trying to learn our rules and what we need to accomplish. And I understand that these young guys are only been here for 2-3 months, 4 months, trying to get playing time out there, trying to learn this offense. And you said exactly right. That's allowed me to understand their side of it and bring a little patience to it. And I just got to talk them through things sometimes on the field, even if we got to go a little bit slower. Sometimes we like to be a tempo offense. If we need to slow it down, so I know exactly. So if I can tell them exactly what they need to do, I have to do that.
When you were just starting in this offense, when was the moment, in the course of it that it was like, all right, I get it, and I can go as fast as we need to go whenever we need to go that fast?
Mm-hmm. For me, it felt like there was always a point where you're always going fast. There was a lot of times we were going fast from not exactly doing the right thing. It took through that whole spring ball. That was the first staff when they first got here. That whole spring ball was kind of like, I'm treading water. I really don't know what's going on. And then the whole summer with Coach Beck allowed us to really understand our rules. And then going into fall camp, that was when we really started to click. Going into the first couple games that year, that was that was big for me, just spring ball into fall camp. So it took a little while, and that's helped me understand that these new guys they're going to struggle for a little bit.
Let's go, Brian Christopherson.
Hey, Austin, your coach just gave a really nice compliment to you that you're a guy that quarterbacks, they like throwing to. They feel confident going your way. What have you done or worked on to become that type of player, especially this year it feels like where you're so involved in the passing game?
Yeah, so a lot of times us tight ends are telling the quarterbacks, we're 6'8", 6'7", just throw it up, we'll go make a play. We obviously have big bodies. We are open when we're not necessarily open in the quarterback's eyes. We tell them just throw the ball, and we'll use our frame, we'll use our body to go make a play. If it's up, we like it to up. So a lot of times DBs are 6 foot, 5'11". I mean, we're like I said, we're 6'7", 6'8". Throw it up, we'll go make a play.
Play on the first drive, an example of that where there was trust that you were going to go up and get it.
Yeah, I know a lot of times in the scramble drill, those quarterbacks they're trying to find the big guys. They're trying to find whoever's open, honestly. But I know they trust us tight ends a lot just because just our frame and our size, and all week through practice we're making those plays. So we're just building that trust with the quarterbacks.
Thanks, Austin. Yep. Steve Sipple. Steve, your mic.
Sipple, you're muted.
Sorry about that, Austin. I was wondering about your patience level with the offense right now, your own personal patience level, and what sort of vibe do you pick up from your teammates in that regard?
Yeah, so seems like this year we're starting to expand our offense more, and that's good for the entire offense as a whole. It's making me be a little bit more patient throughout the week. I know Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm getting a little frustrated thinking I don't really understand what we're trying to accomplish here. And then as we get into Thursday, Friday, watching more film, slowing practice down, that's when I start to understand I know what we're trying to accomplish here versus this defense. And that's something different that I've seen in the past years where we're just running a play based on rules, whereas we can understand what we're trying to accomplish against this certain defense and how they play. And that's something about this year that I'm starting to really like. How we're forming this offense.
Do you think the guys pick up on it like you do, as well as you do?
It's easier for a guy like me to understand what we're trying to accomplish because I have a background of all the rules that we've had in place for 3 years. I think it's going to be. I know for sure it'd be hard for a young guy right now trying to understand what we're trying to accomplish when you don't really have a big foundation of the rules and how that applies to the plays that we're dialing up for these teams. But there's an understanding that comes with it from being an old guy and having that background.
Thank you for your patience, Austin.
No problem.
Parker Gabriel.
Hey, Austin. Obviously, you guys don't really huddle, and so I'm curious how a guy like Luke McCaffrey, so we hear a lot about his energy and as all the time. How does that, can you feel it when you're on the field? How so if you're not, in the huddle regularly? And just what is his energy like on a regular basis?
Yeah, so he's always an up-tempo, up energy type of guy, and when we get a tempo call from the sideline, you can just hear the sense of urgency in Luke's voice. He's always clapping his hands, let's go, tempo, and that's it gets you kind of locked in real quick as a receiver out there. So I got to get my rules right now because Luke's running this offense. It gives the whole offense a sense of urgency, and I think that's something we need if we're going to be a true tempo offense.
Joe Nugent.
Hey, Austin, as a veteran guy, a guy who's been on the sideline for years at Memorial Stadium, was it weird being on the other side this past Saturday?
It was a little different. I will say from the start, when we first introduced that in practice, I found myself always looking for the play call on the opposite side, having to turn around. Oh crap, it's on the other side now. But it's second nature now. I mean, we've been running it in practice for all this time. It's not too weird now, but it is a little different in a game setting.
We'll finish this session with Sam McEwen.
Hey, Austin, what do you mean by expand the offense? I mean, I'm not asking you to give away the game plan, but what do you mean generally by that?
Expanding the offense in the sense that we know our rules and what we're trying to accomplish on a certain run play or whatever. Now we can add a little twist to it with another player getting into that same fit, or so to say, we can just add some extra nonsense for the defense to think, oh, we're doing this, whereas we're really just accomplishing the same thing. I guess I don't really want to go in too much in depth. Yeah, just added candy.
How's that? I mean, how's that going for some of the young guys?
Yeah, it's you can tell that they're treading water at the beginning of the week. But we're not trying to install too much in the game plan every week. So if they can lock into what we got in place for this week, week by week, I think they're capable of doing the game plan come Saturday.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Rick, thank you. That'll conclude our session with Austin. We'll be back here momentarily. Okay, we got Connor Culp here now. I will start questions with, let's see, Brian Christopherson.
Hey, Connor, what's it like to just be back kicking again in a game setting, and kind of take us through the patience of the last couple of years in the build up to get to this moment, you know, and what has kept you going?
It's honestly been great. Those last 2 years, really missed being back out onto the field, and my whole mindset was to get my degree, and then if opportunity opens, to go and try and pursue another season and be able to kick again, and kind of just keep my head down, roll with the punches, and just wait for another opportunity.
Go to Austin Ward.
Hi, Connor, it's Andrew. But I want to ask you about your truck that you lost, or it was stolen this past weekend. Can you kind of describe that situation?
Yeah, so Saturday after the game, I went to dinner with my parents, and I ended up walking to dinner with them and met up with them. And after we were all done, went to go get into my truck and didn't have my keys on me. So that was a little alarming to start with. And then looked up in the room, looked inside the truck, called the restaurant, went and looked at the restaurant, walked everywhere that I walked that evening, and couldn't find them at all. So the plan was to get a new spare the next morning. But fortunately, whenever I walked out that next morning, my truck was gone. So someone had found my keys and taken it.
Okay, Mitch.
Were you able to get it back?
Yes, sir. Got it back yesterday morning, thankfully. Want to thank everyone that has helped in the search and have kept an eye out. That was awesome, and I really can't appreciate it enough.
Mitch Sherman.
Hey, Connor. Can't really let that conversation in there. So how did you get it back? Where was it in the garage, on the street? Where was your truck when it got stolen?
So my truck actually didn't fit in the parking garage at the Cornhusker, so they gave me a bus pass to park in the bus lane.
and they found it about a mile away from the Cornhusker, and people that took it off-roading, enjoyed themselves a little bit, and then unfortunately got 2 flat tires out of it, but I'd rather take that than having a totaled truck. So,
Parker Gabriel?
Hey, Connor, my question isn't probably as exciting as that, but I'm curious what you make of the work with your kickoff team so far. And in particular, it seemed on Saturday against Penn State that the strategy, particularly going into the wind at the beginning of the game, was very effective. So just can you explain to us the strategy there, ball placement, that sort of thing?
yeah, so that style of kick in particular is it's called sky right. Basically what I tried doing is getting the ball up really high and towards the opposite side of the field at about the 15-yard line. So it's a shorter field for our coverage unit to go down and cover, and then also having enough hang time on the ball to be able to get down there and minimize their return. Sometimes whenever you're going into the wind, you can tend to hit it a little low, and that can cause a few problems. So pooching it up over and to the right, not really worrying about distance, just helps the whole coverage unit in the long run.
Okay, Joe Gingit?
Hey, Connor, I'm curious how it feels to come in and solidify this position for a program that, it wasn't solid last year.
Feels great. Honestly, I couldn't wait to get back out onto the field, and was by no means was the position handed to me. The kickers here now have definitely driven me to be perfect and really try and master my craft, and can't thank them enough, because they've really driven me to help build my confidence and have a little competition along the way to kind of push me into doing better and better.
Okay, Mitch Sherman?
Hey, Connor, grad transfer is obviously usually a one-year thing. Different circumstances this year are available to you. What do you think about kicking next year? You given that any thought?
As of right now, I'm focused on this year. I know we have Illinois this week, and that's basically the only thing I've been thinking about. Not really anything in the future yet. So.
Hey, one other thing. Have you learned any more? And I know, and had talked to you that you had that connection to Colby Delahousse. Have you learned any more about Sam in your time here in Lincoln these last few months?
I know he was an outstanding punter, and seemed to be very, very well liked in the locker room. And I know I'm not a punter, but I'm modeling my work off of him, just to try and be the best I can be and work hard like he did, and go out every Saturday and improve himself that he was the best punter in the nation. So.
Okay, we'll finish this session with Andy Kendi. How would you assess how you've kicked so far? Are you happy with where you're at and how you're hitting the ball, and where can you improve?
I'm always trying to get better every day. Penn State and all the other games are in the past now, and I'm only focusing on Illinois and working hard every day and making sure that I still hit the ball that I would like to, and hitting it well. Personally, don't look back at certain kicks. Once they've happened, they've already happened, and I look to just get better every day and keep my head down regardless of the performance I may have had.
Thank you, everybody. That will conclude our media session for today.